What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania. I don't understand that. Because there is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself.
While Biden was at the beach during the deadliest hurricane of the year, Kamala Harris was hosting fundraisers in California. Days later, she posted a staged photo from Air Force Two. The paper she's writing on is blank, and her earphones aren't plugged in. At least Bush looked out of the window, flying over Katrina. Trump went to Georgia before Biden-Harris. Trump went to East Palestine before Biden-Harris. Trump went to the border before Biden-Harris. Trump spoke to Laken Riley's family before Biden-Harris, and he spoke to the Afghanistan Gold Star families before Biden-Harris. They say 80% of life's just showing up, and Biden and Harris have their own jets. So what's their excuse? They can get anyone in the world on the phone in 30 seconds, but they won't even pick it up. Trump goes to you. Biden and Harris hide from you.
And guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. Let's jump in. Kamala Harris is bringing out the big guns as we count down the final days to the 2024 presidential election, guys. But it looks as if even former President Barack Obama can't change the minds of the people. And this natural calamity has proven further that Donald Trump actually cares about American people, contrary to what Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and even AOC has been saying about him. They're all saying that Donald Trump only cares about himself. Do you agree or disagree with those guys? And yet, Donald Trump has more than 200 linesmen staying at his golf course in Miami for free. But of course, we wouldn't even know about that if not for an X post on Twitter from Eric Trump. And all of this positive coverage for the former president is making the Democratic Party a little bit uneasy. And many of them are now worried that Kamala Harris is only digging herself further and further into a deeper mess that she's already in. Even CNN, who many consider to be a left-leaning news station, is reporting this fact.
We have some new CNN reporting today about what is going on behind the scenes inside the Harris campaign and more broadly among Democrats who are growing more and more anxious about a 2016 redux. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins me now. Priscilla, we were just joking here at the table that anxious Democrats happen on a day that ends in Y, but this is something that perhaps is warranted given the data that they're seeing. Explain your great reporting.
Yeah, look, that's exactly right, Dana. And this has been a campaign that was described by multiple Democrats, allies, aides, to the vice president as a good vibes campaign. But what's also creeping in now is that anxiety. The reason for that is because these polls are not really moving. Despite multiple battleground blitzes, despite the opportunities she has had across media outlets, there is still not a lot of movement from voters who are moving more towards her versus former President Donald Trump. In fact, I had one source describe it to me this way, quote, people are nervous. They know the polls are tight. And a lot of us are having these flashbacks to 2016, too. We know when it can go the wrong way and it can still feel fresh. So 2016 is the key here. When I've talked to Harris campaign officials, it often comes up in conversation. Where did Hillary Clinton have her pitfalls? And where can they make up that ground and build on what Joe Biden did in 2020? One of those, to give you an examples, is those red and rural districts. Look at, for example, Cambria County in Pennsylvania. Now, former President Donald Trump won in that county, but the former President Biden was able to gain some ground there, more than Hillary Clinton had in 2016. The vice president has already visited twice. And so that is the type of strategy that they're trying to deploy to try to make up that ground where they saw Hillary Clinton wasn't able to in 2016. Then, too, there's the mobilizing. Talk to Democrats. They're always pretty boastful about their ground game, and they continue to be so, but that needs to turn into votes. So certainly some anxiety and nerves setting in as Election Day gets closer and those polls are just remain deadlocked.
Now, here's the shocking part, guys. Clinton was leading in the polls back in 2016. So this might not necessarily be a rerun of that scenario. It could end up much worse, as Donald Trump could beat Kamala Harris in a landslide. Because why else would Obama order her to go on all these different shows to get embarrassed, right? In fact, let me just show you one clip that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how they've built up the VP.
Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? The only question I ever ask is, are you okay? And sadly, we have seen over the last 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene.
Did you see that? Now, you can go back again and try to focus on what's in front of her, right? There's a teleprompter there, guys, and there's text on it. Now, as soon as the camera pans behind her, you can clearly see that they turn it off all of a sudden. What are they trying to hide? That's because her campaign has been built on a teleprompter and a script. It's all smoke and mirrors, because we all know how she is when she's not given the questions and the answers in advance. And CNN right now is fighting this dilemma because they're basically just trying to stay in the middle, so to speak. At least that's what it seems like, because they're not even completely against negative coverage of the vice president. But of course, after that report of Democrats fearing the worst, Dana Bash has to try and get her back in form, even as she can't help Harris if she answers the questions in this manner.
We heard the Administrator Deanne Criswell say earlier today that the agency is down to $11 billion in disaster relief funding because it spent about $9 billion just over the last week. Are you confident FEMA has the resources to manage what we are, never mind what we're about to see in Florida, but of course, that's on top of Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago?
FEMA absolutely has the resources that it needs now and to deal with this hurricane as it hits and the aftermath. And of course, we want Congress, when they come back, to do their job of making sure that they pass legislation to provide more aid, because, again, this is really historic in terms of what we've seen. And so we do need to buff up the aid and assistance that we give FEMA, understanding that this is unusual and may be, sadly, the new normal.
But you don't believe that, because Congress is not in Washington right now, you don't believe that they need to come back earlier in order to give FEMA more resources?
FEMA has what they need right now.
What did I tell you guys? Dana Bash from CNN tried to steer her toward the answer that was needed, because FEMA itself has admitted that they're running low on funding. But she pretty much goes around and says that this isn't true. So which one of them is lying to the American people? Because we have people on the ground who say that FEMA is nowhere to be found. They're not getting help. But the vice president's out here basically saying that they have funding to help and even assist those in need. But even CNN can't help Harris if she continues down a path where everything she doesn't like ends up being labeled as misinformation. Now, just imagine her being in the White House for the next, 4 years, continuously giving out billions of dollars to the Ukraine and illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, Americans like me and you, we have to rely on each other to get by. I read a book a long time ago, and it basically said something that was really powerful and profound to me. And it said something along the lines of, look at your 5 closest friends, and typically your income is an average of your 5 closest friends. Now, with that being said, I was kind of like thinking, okay, well, how do I find people who made way more than me so I could increase my chances of having a higher income? I mean, it only made sense, right? For less than a cup of coffee a day, for less than $1 a day, join a powerful network of people who are ready to change their lives for the better. And I will be putting a limit on this group, so get in while you can. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now.
I guess the other part of this is, you're talking about keep the business private. You're saying he's messing up the strategy, but the numbers are the numbers. And he's trying to fix a numerical problem that she has, a math problem that she has.
Right. I agree with most of what you were saying, Solomon. I don't think the problem is that he spoke it out loud. I think the problem is that he singled out black men. In other words, there is a sexism component to this race. There was a sexism component to the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump race. Right, if Trump wins, he will have only ever beaten women. I can't give you a number, but sexism is in the mix here. But it's not black men specifically. I think it's men, not black men. And that, I think, is part of where Obama went wrong.
And I think this is interesting how, and I didn't think about that. If Trump wins, he would have only have beaten women. In other words, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton back in 2016, right? if Donald Trump wins this year, Donald Trump would have beaten Kamala Harris for 2024. That's an interesting mention there. I'll just leave it. I'll leave it at that. There's an interesting mention. Now, I don't know if he's trying to say that Donald Trump can't beat a man, because here's the thing. We all know the argument is clearly that that the radical left wants men in women's sports. They want to allow men to basically take full advantage of women. I'm trying to keep it clean here because I don't want to get demonetized on the video, but there's a clear physical advantage that men have over women. And it's almost like a spin on that, because we all know that that's what the Democrats want. They want men in women's sports. And we've all seen how hideous and how horrible that is. And so now this is almost like a curveball method to use that same argument or that same type of issue, cultural issue, against Donald Trump, even though it's not physical. This is purely, candidate versus candidate in a political race. But that's how I'm seeing him try to spin this thing. And I could see a headline coming out in the future, Donald Trump is a woman beater because, he beat Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris is next or something like that. That's how they would spin this kind of thing. What do y'all think?
We also have to look at numbers and actual statistics, right? Because all of those reliable polling has a small demographic of black men. You're talking about most of them poll at most 40, 50 black men, right?
Well, I don't think in this particular case, just to be clear about what we were looking at there, the exit polls were from the actual elections that we had. And then the Pew polling, Pew looks more closely at specific demographics. Right. And they do that in a way that we, as a news organization, deem to be a reliable way of looking at this. Not every poll is reliable, but we think this one is.
And when you remember now, we had the same conversation 2 years ago about Stacey Abrams. Why won't black men support Stacey Abrams? And after the election was over, we saw the numbers, and black men in Georgia, where I live, supported Stacey Abrams at higher rates than they supported Biden. So we have this narrative, and then you have the truth, and you have this conjecture.
But the candidates are speaking with their actions. Kamala Harris next week is sitting down with Charlemagne the God to talk.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. I am not looking forward to that. But, of course, we'll have to cover it. Charlemagne is so, it's almost like anything that Kamala Harris says or does, he'll get behind it. But we'll see how this goes.
Talk to black men. They're being explicit about it. Right. So let me play for you what happened on Charlemagne's show yesterday when they were talking about a call that they had received from a black man in Florida. This was kind of in the context of the storms, but they played the call. Listen.
It don't matter what they is, Democrat, Republican, they all treason, man. They all about money, bro. None of these people care about American people, bro. This shit hurt, bro. This shit hurt, bro. People wake up every day just want to live their life, bro. And you got these greedy snakes, man. You got these greedy snakes call themselves government service people, bro. And they don't give a damn.
Yeah. And the thing about that call was that, they said it's kind of representative of what they hear often on that show, which is why she's going there.
Well, I think that you have people who are angry. I think that you have people who are planted. I think that you have people who are sent to troll. I think that you have people who are sent with a specific message to deliver to black people. And you see it online. I hear it on the radio. I see it on social media. I see it on our Facebook feed as we're doing our show. And so I think some of that is real, and I think some of it is manufactured. I think some of it is performative. But I do think that there are black men at two ends of the spectrum. There's the old black man that's going to say, well, I'm not going to vote for a woman because the Bible says men should be in charge. Right? There's that guy.
Wow. I forgot about people like that have that ignorant mindset.
But then there's the young black man who only gets his news from social media. and nowhere else. And so he's not watching us. He's not listening. He's not reading me or Michael. He's not reading David. He's not doing any of that. His news comes from social media. And so he has a specific point of view and is likely to believe conspiracy theories. The question is, do people who vote...
Oh my God. I don't know what he means by conspiracy theories, but all I can say is if conspiracy from 2020 on forward, from the pandemic forward, think about how many conspiracies have actually been proven to be true. Think about Facebook jail. Think about social media suppression. I'm just saying there are so many conspiracy theories that have been proven to be true, and it was simply because mainstream media didn't want this to be released. Number one, well, not only mainstream media, I mean, you have Mark Zuckerberg coming out recently saying that the FBI and the government forced his hand to suppress certain posts and videos that were showing up on the social media platform. So I'm just saying, like, they often use the term conspiracy theory to make it seem like, oh, well, it's a conspiracy. These are conspiracy theories, so they're less valid. They're less, basically, you should ignore them. It's almost like a conspiracy theory should automatically, because someone decided to slap a label on a particular story or a particular idea or thought, and immediately discredit it. When we've seen a slew of quote unquote labeled conspiracy theories proven to be 100% factual. And a lot of this wouldn't have ever even been known if it weren't for Elon Musk and how he has allowed a lot of this information to become public information after his purchase and acquisition of Twitter. So shout out to Elon Musk on that one.
So are they on social media or are they on Social Security? I think they're on Social Security.
Well, I think that the problem is that no one's disputing that this government and this country doesn't treat that they treat black men okay, or that we don't have a gripe with either party, right? Because if you talk to black people privately, they will have a gripe with the Democratic Party. The point is, how do you fix it? And why don't you approach that solution the same way you approach the solution with white people?
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre literally walked out the press briefing because she got so offended by one question. Can you believe that? She got pissed off and just walked out. Make sure you guys check that one out, because the person who asked this question was none other than Peter Doocy. Now, as always, guys, appreciate you guys hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing this video. I'll see y'all next time.